Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm going to be your study guide leader today as we literally cram for our visual analysis exam on, well, a truly fascinating botanical avian hybrid. So grab your mental highlighters because we're going to dissect the empirical visual data of this image to make absolutely sure you ace that upcoming test.
Okay, let's just quickly run through the syllabus here. We'll start with core visual subject identification, move right into anatomical mapping for both the head and the body, check out the environmental and peripheral details, and finally, we'll wrap up with the final exam key takeaways.
All right, Section 1, Core Visual Subject Identification. Let's get down to the absolute basics.
Now, this is a super high probability exam question right here. When you look at the bulk of this figure, what is it actually made of? It's so easy to just let your brain jump to conclusions based entirely on the overall silhouette. Our minds are literally hardwired to recognize animal shapes in an instant. But for this exam, we have to bypass those assumptions and rely strictly on the visual evidence.
Just look at how the entire torso, the textured plumage, and the base are all formed by these tight white cauliflower florets. It's crazy how the natural bumpy geometry of the vegetable perfectly simulates the fluffed-up feathers of a bird, right? It's a masterful visual illusion playing tricks on us. But remember, if you get asked for the primary structural material, your answer must strictly be cauliflower.
Make sure you jot this exact classification down for the final. We're looking at a direct, literal fusion of produce and poultry. A visual hybrid, utilizing botanical structures, specifically cauliflower, to mimic the anatomical shape of a chicken. So if this pops up on a multiple-choice question, you have to mention that dual nature. The physical stuff is unequivocally a plant, but the form, intentionally arranged to represent an animal.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, Anatomical Mapping of the Head.
Flashcard time. Try to just actively recall the distinct colors and textures located solely on the head of the subject. What specific, non-white elements break up that continuous sea of florets to instantly tell your brain, hey, that's poultry?
Well, the absolutely crucial point here is the stark visual contrast. We've got a smooth, glossy red comb right on top of the head, a matching red wattle hanging down below the jawline, a bright yellow conical beak pointing forward, and a single visible eye with a dark pupil and a yellow ring around it. And seriously, do not miss that glorious crown. It's a perfectly positioned cluster of cauliflower resting right behind the comb to flawlessly mimic a little tuft of head feathers.
Consider this visual map your ultimate cheat sheet. It translates what you'd intuitively expect to see on a chicken to the actual botanical elements we're looking at. For the test, you must be able to directly link these up. So, the chicken comb and wattle, those are the smooth red vegetable elements. The beak maps perfectly to the yellow conical piece. And the feathers are, of course, represented by the clustered white cauliflower florets. Definitely memorize these one-to-one mappings.
All right, let's transition into Section 3, Anatomical Mapping of the Body and Appendages.
So think back to the base of the image. How exactly does this heavy cauliflower structure actually stand up? What specific parts of the plant are being used to create such a convincing illusion of scaly, jointed chicken legs?
What's really fascinating here is how the thick, smooth stems of the cauliflower naturally curve down to act as these sturdy little thighs. If you look closely at the textural shift, you go from the bumpy florets of the body to the smooth skin of the stems. And at the end of these stems, we find exactly 3 knobby floret toes on each foot. It is just a fantastic repurposing of the vegetable's anatomy to serve the avian form, and it does it without introducing any foreign structural materials.
Oh, and whatever you do, don't forget to memorize the placement of these bright green leaves tucked right above the legs. They literally ground the subject back into its botanical reality. Because, while the white florets try incredibly hard to convince us we're looking at a bird, those prominent green leaves are the undeniable signature of the cauliflower plant. They act as this totally intentional, unhidden visual bridge between the two competing motifs.
Next up, Section 4, Environmental and Peripheral Details. Let's look at the context.
I need you to take a mental screenshot of this checklist right now, because you will absolutely be tested on the exact garnish elements and background colors. We've got a gray or silver metallic platter as the foundation, exactly 3 red cherry tomatoes, 1 small orange bell pepper, some scattered white powdery dusting on the platter, and the whole shebang is set against a solid light blue background.
Let's just verify that checklist with the source material to really lock it in. Notice the exact spatial arrangement. The single orange bell pepper is sitting prominently to the left of the feet. The 3 cherry tomatoes are clustered tightly together over on the right. And pay special attention to that fine white powder scattered sort of unevenly across the silver tray right beneath our subject. Remember, guys, precision in observation is going to be the difference between passing and failing this test.
And that brings us to Section 5, Final Exam Key Takeaways. We made it to the end of our cram session.
Okay, if you just follow these 3 simple steps of recall, you are going to flawlessly reconstruct this visual data under pressure. Step 1, identify your base material, which again is the cauliflower florets and stems. Step 2, contrast that baseline with the distinct head features, the red comb, the wattle, and the yellow beak. And step 3, catalog those specific peripheral items. If you master this sequence, you've completely mastered the analysis.
And really, why does this all matter? Well, your success entirely depends on separating what your brain naturally wants to see, a chicken, from what the structural evidence actually presents in reality. You literally have to train your eye to see the botanical reality that's creating the illusion. It's just a fundamental test of rigorous observation over lazy assumption.
I'm going to leave you with this final kind of provocative thought to ponder before test day. When you sit down to write that final exam essay, how will you rigorously defend your classification of this visual anomaly? Is it poultry? Is it produce? Or is it an entirely new category? Study your notes, always trust the visual evidence over your initial instincts, and I will see you at the exam.